he was initiated by Srila Prabhupada and become Srila Prabhupada's disciple. In 1972, Maharaj was traveling throughout the United States distributing Srila Prabhupada's books and universities. So this continued until 1974, when Maharaj became directly involved in the publication of Srila Prabhupada's books in English and in Spanish. In early 1978, Maharaj entered the renounced order of life, or sannyasa, ashram, in Lima, Peru. In 1995, Maharaj began to work on the GBC. GBC means Governing Body Commission. At present, his zone includes Fiji, Southeastern United States, and Slovenia. So this is just a brief introduction of His Holiness. So we are very, very fortunate and blessed to have His Holiness Bir Krishna Maharaj with us today. So let's welcome Maharaj by loudly chanting Hare Krishna mantra one time. Together, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
With that, I will turn it over to you, Maharaj.
Oh, it's such a sorrow. Thank you very much. It's good to see everybody. We got 33 on this one, and then on my other one, we have quite a few people, and we're on Facebook streaming live. So we're doing 2 streamings simultaneously, but you're the primary one. So let's get started. So I thought we could start by chanting the bhajan and on Janmashtami. Of course, we want to wish everyone a happy Janmashtami. And, of course, a happy Vyasa Puja for Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada's 125th celebration of his appearance. And it's very, very auspicious. And, of course, that's tomorrow's. So before talking about Janmashtami, I'd like to sing this nice song, Shri Vrajadama Mahamrita, which is Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, which I think many of you know. However, you'll just have to listen to me chant it, because if you unmute yourselves, turn on your camera. My camera is on. Oh, that's about everybody else. Yeah, so please mute yourselves, because the way Zoom is, that if you do responsive chanting, the timing is really off by about 0.2 of a second, and it's really confusing. So at least I'll chant Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, and then we'll talk about Lord Krishna's appearance. Let me get my harmonium. Ready? And we will get started. Check one thing on this other one. I just want to mute everybody on mine. Jai Ho Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Shri Govinda, Gopinatha, Madana. Kaline Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahava Keshigata Vamshivata Dvadasakana Nagasaba Lila Koela Shinanda Nanda Shinanda Jashoda Jaya Jaya Gopaka Shinamadi Jaya Jaya Nitida Sunari Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Abhiranagari Jaya Jaya Gopi Shara Vrindavan Maja Jaya Jaya Krishna Sakala Vatu Dvijara Jaya Rama Rohini Nanda Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Vasija Jaya Dvija Patni Jaya Bhakti Jahara Boina Govinda Charana Shri Rasa Jai Ho Jaya Radha Chandra Jaya Jaya Rasa Leela Sarvamanohara Jayo Jayo Jwala Rasa Sarva Rasa Sarva Parakiya Bhave Jana Brajate Raja Jana Vapada Padma Koriya Smarana Dasako Heli Namasankirtana Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radha Radha Golokananda Radha Radhe, Jai Radhe, Radhe, Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Paramahansa, all stupendos to Shimad, His Divine Grace. Abhaya Chanananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, Ananda Gauti, Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha, Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna, Gopikapata, Shyam Kunda, Radhakunda, Giri Govardhan, Devi Gajai, Samaveda Bhakta, Vrindi Gajai, Gaur Premananda, Hari Hari Gol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda, Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Vacharani, Nivashesha Shunyavadi, Paschacha Deja Tarane. So, Om Gana Timidanda Shagana Shlakaya Chakshuran Miditam Yena Tasmai Shigadve Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who has so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, happy Janmashtami to everybody, most auspicious day, and I'm going to read the translation to this poem by Krishna Is Goswami, and after that we'll speak a little bit about Janmashtami, and some of my favorite topics on Janmashtami are the topics about the demons. Very interesting. Anyway, so let's read the translation. All glories to Radha Krishna. All glories to the three presiding deities of Vrindavan, Sri Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan. All glories to Shamakun, Radhakun, Govardhan Hill, and the Yamuna River, Kalindi. All glories to the great forest known as Mahavana. All glories to Keshigat, the Vamsivat tree, and the 12 forests of Braja. At these places, the son of Nanda, Sri Krishna, performed all of his pastimes. All glories to Krishna's divine father and mother, Nanda and Yashoda. All glories to the cowherd boys headed by Sri, to the cows and calves of Braja. All glories to Radha's divine father and mother, Vrishabhanu, and the beautiful Kirtida. All glories to Purnamashi, the mother of Sandipani Muni. All glories to the young cowherd maidens of Braja. All glories to Gopishvara Shiva, to protect the holy Dham. All glories to Krishna's funny Brahmin friend Madhu Mangal. All glories to Ramagat, where Lord Balaram performed his rasa dance. All glories to Lord Balaram, the son of Rohini. All glories to all the residents of Vrindavana. All glories to the wives of the proud Vedics. All glories to the wives of the Kaliya serpent. Through pure devotion, they all obtain the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. All glories to the place where the rasa dance of Sri Krishna was performed. All glories to Radha and Shama. All glories to the divine rasa dance, which is the most beautiful of all of Lord Krishna's pastimes. All glories to the mellow of conjugal love, which is the most excellent of all rasas, and is propagated in Braja by Sri Krishna in the form of the divine Padakiya Bhava. Remember in the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda's consort, Sri Janava Devi, this very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna. Name Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. So, thank you all for joining us this evening. Most auspicious event. And so, we'll talk about several different topics. As I mentioned, I'm going to talk about demons, which is very interesting. But first, I think I should explain who Krishna is. For those of you who don't know, of course, we describe him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, some people think some comes from Vishnu rather than Vishnu coming from Krishna. So let me explain this mystery, and this is described as Lord Krishna's ontological position. That means who he actually is. First of all, there's one God. For those of you who have been raised in different places, you may think that there's many gods. Like sometimes you go into a temple, not an ISKCON temple, of course, and they say, I want to show you the gods. And there's about 20 different altars in the temple, and you're trying to figure out which one is the real God. And actually, you can even someone who is ignorant can figure out who the real God is, because it's obviously Krishna, because Krishna is the only one who's not working. All the other gods are meditating or doing something else, and then there's Krishna with his girlfriend, Radharani. So, the real Supreme Personality of Godhead should be someone who doesn't work. Anybody who works is not God. Like Prabhupada described, when Krishna was born, he didn't have to perform in order to kill the demoness Putana. Krishna has all the different powers. He's supremely independent. So there's no question of Krishna having to do anything to acquire his powers. And Krishna wasn't even born. He appeared. And when Krishna appeared, he appeared with all sorts of jewelry and ornaments on his body. Of course, there weren't any clothes, but there were ornaments. So not many children appear like that. In fact, I don't think any other child has ever appeared like that. So in any case, we have this whole discussion between and Krishna. So who is Vishnu and who is Krishna? They're both the same person. That may come as a surprise to all of you. The Vishnu, Krishna, Lord Nrsingadev, Kurma, Varaha, Matsya, all these, and of course Lord Ram, for those of you who are Ram Bhaktas, they're all, or he is all the same person. The Brahma Samhita describes Advaita Chuta Nade Prana Purasham Navayovanam Cha. There's one God, and God acts in different ways, simultaneously doing different things, which is quite interesting, in different moods. And sometimes you find 2 or 3 expansions of God interacting with each other, which is very interesting. Last night we were telling the story about the Milk Ocean, and when you had the churning of the Milk Ocean, you had the Kurma, the tortoise incarnation of the Lord, supporting Mount Mandara. You had Lord Vishnu on top of Mount Mandara, just like balancing the whole thing. And then you had Lord Vishnu pulling Vasuki along with the demigods. So 3 times God is there, and he is always the same person. Don't think that there's different persons. However, when we see God, and that's a big term, it's actually a secondary name of the Supreme Lord. Primary name refers to God's personal aspects rather than his power. So when we see different manifestations of Krishna, we see different, let's say, exhibitions of his personality. And we can understand that the topmost exhibition of Krishna's personality is when he exhibits the most intimate times. Just like, as Prabhupada gave the example, with an ordinary person, let's say the highest understanding you can have of an ordinary person is when he is home, not when he is at work, not when he is going shopping at Walmart, because Prabhupada didn't use the word Walmart, but when he is home with his family, because that's more intimate. He reveals more of himself. The more intimate your associates are, the more you reveal yourself to that person or associates. So we see that the Krishna, not the Krishna, sorry, sounds like Hinduism, but we see the Krishna as his manifestation as Krishna is a complete manifestation of God because he exhibits qualities that no other manifestation of God exhibits. And we all know those qualities. He plays a flute. Lord Vishnu does not play a flute. He has intimate devotees, intimate pastimes, and unexcelled beauty. Sorry. So these are the four. Unexcelled beauty, and his beauty is so great he attracts the other incarnations. Even though all the other incarnations, all the other avatars, all the other expansions are actually non-different from him. That is amazing. When we think about it, it even becomes more amazing because we, as conditioned souls or as jiva souls, can only do one thing at one particular time in one particular place. Right now, I'm on Zoom, and you may appear things. You got 28 people watching. I have numerous people watching on my Zoom. So it may appear that I'm in more than 50 places right now, but I'm not. I'm here, and all these different expansions are like yogi expansions. They're all like television expansions. It's not that my picture that you're seeing somewhere in Austin is doing something different than what I'm doing here in North Carolina. But Krishna is doing something different in each and every place, in each and every universe. There's unlimited numbers of universes, like grains of mustard seed, or mustard seeds, in a bag of mustard seeds. And what to speak of the spiritual world. And at the same time, the loke vinivashati, akilatma bhuta. Krishna never leaves the spiritual world. So just objectively, we can see that Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam. Just using our brain, using logic. Now also, we take evidence from Shastra. As Jiva Goswami states, the topmost evidence that we have is the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And the Srimad-Bhagavatam tells us Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. It goes through a whole list of different incarnations. Of course, all the incarnations, because there are as many incarnations of Krishna or expansions of Krishna as there are waves in an ocean, which means unlimited. And Prabhupada also says that Krishna has incarnations in every species of life, too. So that's more than 8,400,000 incarnations, more than that, unlimited. So, anyway, there's a list in the Bhagavatam, and then after the list is given, the statement is Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even objectively, using logic and reasoning, or shastrically, or any way we look at it, we can understand that Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the other expansions of Krishna, there's the Chaturvyuha, which comes from Krishna, and of course Balaram. Those are the original two members, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. They're all the same person. There's not two gods. Try to understand that we are not polytheists. So hear from the great devotees like Jayadev Goswami in his Dasha Avatar shlokas, which I think you're all familiar with, at least one of them, Keshavadrita, Narahari Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hari. Jayadev Goswami always ends each shloka with Keshavadrita or Rama Shavira, Jaya Jagadisha Hari. So that, O Keshava, you've taken the, let's say, dramatic role. So, why, or here's the second question before we get into the demons. Hopefully, I don't get too philosophical for all of you. So, why does Krishna have all these various incarnations? And why does Krishna appear? And why did Krishna appear uh, over 5,000 years ago? It's actually well over. In the Bhagavad Gita, we find one explanation. He comes to establish religious principles and annihilate the miscreants. However, as we mentioned in an earlier class today, Krishna doesn't have to do that because Krishna's energies are perfectly capable of annihilating miscreants and protecting the devotees and establishing religious principles. Like we see, Srila Prabhupada came and Prabhupada protected the devotees, established religious principles, and protected the innocent and the devotees from Maya. So Prabhupada was capable of that, and certainly Krishna can empower any of his jiva souls, or Krishna can empower any of his energies. There's the Shakti Tattva to do those same things. And Krishna's Swarat, he's independent. So the real reason Krishna comes to this world is to enjoy ras. Ras means the taste of a particular relationship. And I think you're all familiar with the 5 basic rasas, which are the Shanta ras, Dasha ras, Sakya ras, Vatsalya ras, and Madhurya ras. So, but in addition, there's all these nice indirect rasas, like shock, or ghastliness, or humor, or anger, or fear, or chivalry. And so these indirect rasas, they are like spices that spice up the direct ras, or rasas that the devotees have with Krishna. I'll give you a practical example. Let's say you like some vegetable, eggplant, sorry. Let's say you like eggplant. But if you just take plain eggplant or bacon, it's pretty bland. Doesn't have much of a taste. So you add a garam masala to it, right? Some hot spices. Tasty. So Krishna adds these indirect rasas to his direct rasas to make them tastier. So the reason Krishna comes to this world is to taste ras. It's like the reason you go and you eat is to taste ras, right? And if something is not tasty, you won't eat it. Many people have commented about my diet because I eat very bland food. They could not eat like I eat, but I like it. So, different strokes for different folks, or different types of food for different people. So, so you like to spice things, and if it's not tasty, you won't eat it. So Krishna likes to make things very tasty. And in order to make things very tasty, he has to have unlimited variety. Like Prabhupada would all, variety is the mother of enjoyment. Like if you eat the same thing every day, you will get bored, or you will lose a desire to eat. Because it may be good, you'll lose some weight then, if you need to lose weight. But most people will not eat the same thing every day. They need more variety. So Krishna has unlimited variety, so he mixes these different rasas. And if you're interested in reading more about that, pick up Prabhupada's Nectar Devotion, and he talks about the mixing of the rasas, the indirect rasas, the direct rasas, and he gives some example. And sometimes there's improper mixing, sometimes there's proper mixing. It's a whole science. It's a whole science of rasas. So, but Krishna does that. So he comes down to this earth planet. We're going to be talking about the demons in a second. He interacts with the demons And in doing so, sometimes he's very angry, more angry than he would be in the spiritual world, because there's not a real cause for anger in the spiritual world. Or he's feeling anxiety. Why is he feeling anxiety? Because the coward boys are marching into the mouth of the Aghasura demon. And when they're marching into the mouth of the Aghasura demon, he's in anxiety, thinking, what am I going to do? Because he forgets, this is Yogamaya, he forgets that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he voluntarily forgets. He's not forced. Nothing could force him. He voluntarily forgets so he can enjoy Ras. He's in anxiety. What's going to happen with the coward boys? And then in a few seconds later, kill the snake. So he enters into the Aghasura demon, and he expands himself and chokes the Aghasura demon, and then the soul comes out of the top of the Aghasura demon's head and enters into Krishna. So there you have Krishna experiencing fear. There you have Krishna experiencing anger. And there's some ghastliness there too, which is really interesting. So Krishna's enjoying these things. Now you may say, how could someone enjoy anger? Well, let's say you were watching, let's see, what type of sports do you like? Soccer, rugby, probably not. Cricket, maybe cricket. Hopefully not American football, because that's too rough. But you're watching it, and then you really get into being angry at the party of the opposite team, isn't it? I've seen that many times. Not myself. I'm not interested in that stuff. But I will walk by when I'm in an airport. People are watching these different videos of the soccer team, particularly soccer, which is called football overseas. And people are just enjoying getting angry. Or people are enjoying fear. Why do people go on, in America they have these things called roller coasters, right? Where people go down and up. I remember I went on one when I was a child, and it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life. And so people are screaming. You hear the ladies there screaming, going on this roller coaster and thinking they're going to die. And so they're enjoying this fear. So even in this world, you find people who want to experience fear. They go to see some horror movie, or they want to see some other type of movie. Of course, mostly romantic Bollywood movies, which are ridiculous anyway and contaminating. So anyway, so people have, what we're doing in this world is we want to experience Ras. And of course, I would like to experience the Ras of the holy names. That's another subject matter. So we are parts and parcels of Krishna. And we are in the material world, which is a reflection of the spiritual world. So everything that's here is there, but in its pure form. And every type of Ras that we want to experience, Krishna wants to experience too, pure form. So Krishna comes down and he acts like a tortoise sometimes. We were talking about the Kurma avatar. And in the Kurma avatar, not only is he acting as a tortoise and enjoying himself by acting as a tortoise, but he's having Mount Mandara scratch his back at the same time and also polish the jewels on his body. And so Krishna enjoying so much. And then even with the pastimes of the gopis, sometimes Krishna is fearful of the gopis because he's offended Radharani. And you have to have Lalita and Vishaka stand there, particularly Lalita, with sticks to ward Krishna off, keep him off. And they threaten Krishna, and Krishna has to feel so fearful and remorseful that he bows down at Radharani's feet. So it's really amazing. I mean, we have in the Krishna conscious movement, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, complete conception of God. Not something just extremely limited like most people have, or most other religions, or spiritual paths have of God. He can do anything we can do, and he can do it better and purely, and he's enjoying. That's God's psychology. So talking about the reason Krishna appears in this world, or he takes his various incarnations, is simply to enjoy rasa. That's all. If you ask about Krishna's psychology, he doesn't have to do anything. He does everything for enjoyment. It's not the same as us. Many of you have to work jobs so you can enjoy. During the week, it's a weekday right now, probably many of you worked during today, and you came back, you thought you would have liked to take off for Janmashtami, but you couldn't do it because, you have to make money. So you can enjoy. What can you do? And, we have to do so many things. I mean, like, for example, you see my house here, I have to clean it, so it's not that I just, wish it. It gets cleaned, I have to clean it. Well, sometimes we have servants. But anyway, but it's not exactly like Krishna. So, but Krishna doesn't have to do anything. There's no imperative for Krishna. He just does whatever he wants with whoever he wants, whenever he wants, just for fun. And he already has all the money, so he doesn't need to make any more money. That's one of the opulences of God, the Bhagavan opulences. So that's Krishna. So isn't that nice? So today he decided, today, over 5,000 years ago, he decided to appear, to have fun. And his fun was Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chatushkritam. He enjoyed. Krishna enjoys fighting with demons. I mean, he could kill the demons just by wishing them to be dead. Or he could just wish them never to appear. He wants to have demons. And sometimes he has his devotees come down as demons so he can fight with them. And when he does fight with them, he doesn't kill them right away. He plays with them first. Like you hear about Lord Nrsingadev playing with, or Lord Varaha playing with Hiranyaksha. And he's having a good time with whatever he does. So there's no problem for Krishna, whether it's anxiety, whether it's fear, whether it's humor. And Krishna is extremely humorous. You see the different qualities that Krishna has, Dhiradatta, Dhiradatta. Read about a Nectar Devotion. I'm not going to give a whole course, Nectar Devotion, tonight. But these contradictory qualities just make life so interesting for Krishna. And that's why he comes down, for fun. Okay, so now, as I promised you, we're going to talk about some of the fun things that Krishna does with demons. How about that? And not only are we going to talk about the fun things that Krishna does with demons, but we're actually going to talk about what demons represent. There's two things. I'm going to make reference to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's famous work, the Chaitanya Shikshamrita, which actually details many of the demons that Krishna killed. Of course, Krishna killed more demons than we read about. Krishna's not going to just wait around for the 20 demons that he killed. Practically every day there were several demons, because otherwise it would have been too boring for Krishna. If Krishna had to, let's say, I don't know the number in Krishna book, maybe it's 20, 30 maximum demons. So that if you take Krishna was in Vrindavan for 16 years, that's what some acharyas say, and you divide those 16 years by 30, that's not so many. That means only 2 demons a year, right? That would be a little boring for Krishna. You have to wait 6 months. I mean, roughly. You have to wait 6 months between demons. And that would be too much for Krishna. So I'm sure there were a lot more demons than that. And we're just reading about a few of them, and so Krishna's enjoying the killing of the demons. So we're going to talk about the most prominent of the demons. and what they represent. They were actually there. What they represent, and perhaps we'll even touch upon their past lives, which is interesting too. You know how they got to be demons and how they got to be killed or benedicted or whatever by Krishna. Okay, so why don't we start? So of course, the Adi demon, the original demon in Krishna's pastimes, is, and Putana is a very interesting demon. Of course, they're all interesting because she did not get killed. It's also interesting that I was thinking about this, that the first demon that Ram killed was a woman too. That was Tadaka, and Tadaka was the mother of Marich and Sabahu. Anyway, so Krishna killed demons whether they were, and Ram killed demons whether or not they were women or men. So he wasn't a chauvinist or a male chauvinist. He believed equally in killing demons, regardless of their gender. So, anyway, so Putin, in her last life, and then we'll talk about who she represents or what she represents. In her last life, she was the sister of Bali Maharaj. And we all know the story of Bali Maharaj, that Bali Maharaj was a demon. Actually, he was a devotee. But he was born in the family of Prahlad Maharaj, grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, great-grandson, grandson. So anyway, Prahlad Maharaj, and he had taken over the whole universe by the mercy of his guru, Shukracharya. And the demigods, they got really upset, and especially the mother of the demigods, gotta admit, a lot of people. So especially the mother of the demigods, Aditi, got really upset, and she performed this whole austerity in order to have the Supreme Lord as her son to bring Indra back, because Bali Maharaj had taken over the heavenly planets. So as a result, Lord Vamanadev was born. A very short story. And Lord Vamanadev came to the assembly of Bali Maharaj. And when he came to the assembly of Bali Maharaj, of course, we know that ultimately he took his 3 steps of land and took everything away. But the first thing that happened was that Bali Maharaj's sister looked at and she thought, what a cute little boy. This Lord Vamanadev, or Vamanadev. And she thought, oh, I would really like to be his mother. And so she was praying, I want to be this boy's mother. She had this maternal affection towards him. So, then what happened is that Vamanadev took everything away from Bali Maharaj, and she got angry. She thought, well, if I ever, I want to be the cause of his death too. I want to kill him. So it's like contradictory emotions. And so then later on she took birth as Putana. She got a chance to try to kill Krishna. And Krishna can't be killed because he has a spiritual body. And she did smear poison on her breast, and she tried to feed it to Krishna, and Krishna, of course, took the poison. He didn't mind the poison. He sucked out the life air from Putana, killed her. But at the same time, he ignored the evil intention and accepted the good intention, and then somehow or other, he accepted her in the mood of a mother in the spiritual world. So she went back to home, back to Godhead. Very, very interesting story. So that's her history. But as far as what she represents, this is what we should talk about. She represents, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a pseudo-guru. Now, what is a pseudo-guru? Okay. two things Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about. I mean, someone who is portraying himself or herself as a guru, and they're actually not, they're cheating. And we saw that quite a bit, and we still see that to a large extent, not only in India and America, religious people, Bhagavatam says that religious people will be considered religious, it's a prediction in the age of Kali, by their dress, not by their mentality or by their actions. And so there's many, so how do you ascertain who is a real guru? That's quite difficult, but there is a hint given in the Bhagavatam. Tad viganartam sa gunameva vigachet samit pani shrotyam brahmanishtam, which means one should accept a guru who comes in disciplic succession, who is a servant of his guru, never declares himself to be God, and never falls down from service to Krishna, and is heard nicely, and is able to repeat nicely, and is faithful. Like you see Prabhupada, or let's talk about Prabhupada, whose appearance day it is tomorrow. Prabhupada took his guru's order as his life and soul. I mean, that's really what differentiates, to a large extent, Prabhupada from all of his godbrothers. Many of Prabhupada's godbrothers got the same that Srila Prabhupada got, yet Prabhupada, that is to go to the West and preach in English, at least those who could preach in English, but Prabhupada took it as his life and soul and risked his life in doing that. So Prabhupada showed himself to be a guru. Now also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that a pseudo-guru is one's mind. Wow. Is one's mind. And so one's mind, because the mind preaches to you all the time. You want to follow your mind. So the pseudo-teacher or the pseudo-mind teacher will teach things to the recipient, that's us, our mind, and a pseudo-guru, like liberation. The whole purpose of the material world, the whole purpose of spiritual life is to get liberated. The whole purpose is material sense gratification. The whole purpose is to acquire bhukti, mukti, siddhi, sense gratification, liberation, powers in this world. And there's many religious institutions that teach materialism. I mean, for example, even in the Indian culture, we have these different ceremonies where people are taught that if you worship Krishna or you worship some demigod, you will become wealthy. Of course, everybody's familiar with Satchitanarayan Katha, which everyone's enthusiastic about. And so this is cheating religion. It's described by the Bhagavatam as kaitava dharma. Dharma pratita kaitavotra paramo niramatsaram throws out this cheating religion. And this cheating religion is a manifestation of Kali. So a real preacher of Krishna consciousness preaches aggressively, enthusiastically, and like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, preaches like a lion. Thakur was called a Nrsimha Guru. Okay. So let's talk about Kamsa. Kamsa is actually quite interesting personality. So, Kamsa, of course, Kamsa, as you know, was tempted to kill Krishna, or he killed the 6 sons of Devaki and Vasudeva. And so, Kamsa was in his previous life Kalanemi, big demon. And this Kalanemi had 6 children. And he was related to Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu, you all know. And so Kalanemi's 6 children, these are called the Shadgarbhas, they actually wanted to worship Lord Brahma to get powers like Hiranyakashipu got. And so what happened is that Hiranyakashipu got really angry with them for not getting permission, and he cursed them to be killed by their father. And that father was Kalanemi, and so that happened in the next life. These 6 sons of Devaki and Vasudeva, who were killed first, actually were these 6 personalities. Now, is a very interesting point I want to bring out. These 6 personalities represent more than who they were, and Kamsa represents more than who he was, too. Although he is a real person, and the 6 personalities were real persons, they represent anarthas. Because before we can manifest Krishna in our hearts, of course Krishna is always in our hearts, but before we can actually perceive the manifestation of Krishna in our hearts, we have to purify our hearts. Like recently I've been reading the story in my evening class about the Gulijah Marjana, the cleansing of the Gulijah temple. The Gulijah temple represents what? Vrindavan. And Lord Chaitanya personally cleanses the Gulijah temple along with his devotees, and he makes sure that there's not a speck of dust there so that Krishna can enter, Lord Jagannath can enter the Gulijah temple. And so Prabhupada and the Acharyas comment that one has to make their heart very clear or clean. So the indication is before Krishna could appear from Devaki's womb, these 6 personalities had to be gotten rid of. And these 6 personalities represent the 6 anarthas, like lust. I think I'm not going to describe what each one of these anarthas is. Like lust, anger, illusion, envy, and bewilderment. So these are impediments. Anartha means impediments. So one has to work on them by chanting the holy names of the Lord. So these 6 personalities are very important for us to understand, so we can actually work and manifest Krishna in our hearts and be genuine devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as far as Kamsa himself, he represents a materialist. A materialist who is extremely interested in what's called empiricism. Empiricism means that one is simply interested in the external things and understanding the external things that are manifest in the Pancha Mahabhuta, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments very strongly about that and also about Putana. Okay, so those are the first 2 demons. The next demon is the cart demon. It's a very interesting demon. And he's called Shakata Shura. And this demon represents also anarthas for us. So these demons are very, very instructive for us, because we have to see what we have to give up to manifest Krishna and obtain Krishna's favor. So this demon represents all of our bad habits that we've accumulated in this life and past lives. So we know from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shikshashika prayers, what is that? Cheto Darpanam Arjanam Vava Mahad Vagni Nirapanam, that we have all these samskaras. Now what is a samskara? A samskara means basically, I know most of you think a samskara means like a ceremony that you do, but a samskara means like an impression that is made on your subconscious, on your subtle body. And when you have these impressions on your subconscious or subtle body, they influence your consciousness, and also they create upadis so that you cannot see the Supreme Personality of God. temple. Everybody's decorating. Do I have a time limit on this? What's my time limit? Does anyone know? Satsasara or anyone else? No? You can type in the...
Krishna Maharaj, sorry for that.
Yeah. What's the time?
Time is we please continue my 5 more minutes for me.
All right, just 5 more minutes. Okay. I could probably go on for 3 hours. So, anyway, so yeah, let me just wind up right now, because I can see the people are getting interested in doing the ceremony with the deities, and you said it was about an hour, but I have so many things to convey to the devotees. Okay, so let me wind up. So anyway, so getting back to the point, I'm not going to get into all the other anarthas and other demons. I will save that for a later class. The main thing is that we have to work on these impurities in our own hearts so that we can become fit servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's this statement, Sarvopati Vinir Muktam Tatparatvaina Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakta Ruchate. We have to give up all these misunderstandings about who we are, and we identify ourselves as servants Gopi Bharta Padakamala Dasa Dasa Dasanudas. And in this way we can actually please Krishna, become real devotees of the Lord, and not be subjected to any of the anarthas. So, I think I will end here. And do you want me to take questions, or do you want me to...
Yes, Maharaj. So devotees, please raise your hand so that we can unmute you.
Does anybody want to raise their hands? Nobody's raising their hands. That's fine.
There is one question. Prabhakar Prabhu, please unmute and ask.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Wonderful class. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have one quick question, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Putana represents bogus Guru Prabhu. Could you please a little bit elaborate?
Okay. She represents, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, someone who is acting as a guru, but is teaching materialism instead of spiritualism, or is a cheater in terms of a hypocrite, or is declaring themselves to be God when they're actually a jiva. I mean, there's many different types of bogus imitation, cheating. You know, I know the word bogus isn't used so much, but let's say cheating gurus or teachers. And I think primarily we're cheated by our minds, which is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. Because our minds are telling us who we are, rather than controlling the mind, which is the purpose of yoga. And like Krishna says in the Gita, the mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. And the uncontrolled mind is the enemy of the conditioned soul. So the whole purpose of yoga, whether you're talking about hatha yoga or other types of yoga, at least is to control the mind so you can focus it on the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's what a bogus guru is. So one has to be really careful to accept a guru who is properly qualified. It's the most important decision you make in your life. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much for clarification.
Yeah. Tad viganartam sa gurumeva vigachet. A vigachet is an imperative, which means if one wants to know the absolute truth, one must look for a guru and actually find someone who is properly qualified. Because so many people act like gurus or teachers or priests or ministers, but they're cheating. Or they don't know. Like Prabhupada said, they may even be sincere, but if they don't know the truth, they think they know, but they don't know the truth, then they're cheaters. I remember one time I was listening to Prabhupada talk to a teacher, and the teacher says, I'm teaching some of the things I'm not sure of. And Prabhupada, then you are a cheater, not teacher. So that's basically what it means. Good question. So, who else has a question? Anybody else have a question? Yeah.
Do you have any pastimes with Prabhupada that you were fond of?
Oh, all right. Yeah, I will. I will definitely talk about that. I first met His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada in 1971. I think it's probably before any of you were born. And wait a second, let me just shut that down. So in 1971, I met Srila Prabhupada, and it was in a place called Florida. And let's see, the first time I met Srila Prabhupada, I felt like I had been transported to the spiritual world. I was like the presence of a pure devotee manifests the spiritual world, or the pure devotee, by the pure devotee's presence, makes a place a holy place. We have that story in the Bhagavatam where the Ganges refused to come down to the earth planet because too many impure people would bathe in her, and she was assured that you can come down to the earth planet and the great sages will bathe in you, and in this way you will become purified by the great sages. So Srila Prabhupada was one of those great sages that when I experienced being in his presence, it was like going back to Godhead. In fact, one of the first impressions I had when I met Srila Prabhupada was that I was already back to Godhead. I was only 20 years old, you can understand that. And I thought that I had become a pure devotee just by being in the presence of Srila Prabhupada, because I felt no more connection with the material world just by being in Srila Prabhupada's presence. It was an amazing experience. In India, I mean, in so many stories, let's see how to relate them all. So many stories in India with Srila Prabhupada, going and preaching programs with Prabhupada, serving Srila Prabhupada, going on in America, going on preaching programs with Prabhupada. It's just that it was like being in the spiritual world. I mean, how to describe anything different? Like Prabhupada said, spiritual master was a Vaikuntha man. And so I can say the same thing about Prabhupada, that he was basically Vaikuntha. I mean, one thing, right after I met Prabhupada the first time in 1971, I was in his room in the evening, and he was just dressed in his Kamsa, and he was glowing. He had golden skin, and he was glowing. He gave initiation to many devotees, not me at that time. At about midnight in his room in Gainesville, Florida. Anyway, I wish I had more time, but I had quite a few experiences with Prabhupada. And one thing I realize is that I'm Prabhupada's servant. Like if someone asks me what my identity is, I'll say that I'm actually here to serve Srila and the choices I make in life are based upon whether it is pleasing to Prabhupada, and things I give up are things that are displeasing to Prabhupada. So whatever advancement I have made is due to that particular mindset. Okay? So, anyone else have a question? No? So, Satyasara, should we end now? So you can continue with your program?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and it's been a pleasure, and maybe one day I can get there. and meet with all the devotees.
Pankaj, now we will have thank you note by Prashant Prabhuji. Prashant.
Thank you, Mataji. Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Happy Janmashtami to you, and thank you sincerely for your association today. We started out with such wonderful bhajan, and you spoke so nicely about the true origin of Krishna and his relation to Vishnu, and how we commonly may have understood. So thank you for that, Maharaj, and thank you for explaining how Krishna is coming to the material world to enjoy the rasas, enjoy the infinite amount of rasas, as many in infinite ways as he can, and he's also coming to establish Dharma and uphold his devotees and serve and be there for his devotees. And then thank you, Maharaj, for explaining his demons represent all of the steps and paths that, and ultimately, we should see ourselves to be servants of the servants, in order to reach Krishna's abode. Maharaj, we all from Hare Krishna Temple that you will come often, and we hope that many more classes in the especially to hear all the different, how all the other different demons represent, and will understanding that will help us progress in our spiritual life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I'm going to sign off now, and thank you for letting me join you. And have a happy Janmashtami and nice Vyas Puja tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And I'm going to, I guess we have a few people here on mine. So does anybody have questions on my, I gotta unmute you. That's right, you're all muted. All right, any of you Zoomies have any questions on my Zoom? There's not many people.
Guru Maharaj,
Haribo, Jai Radhika.
Haribo, please accept my humble obeisances to you. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. And happy
So
Krishna.
my blessings.
Thank you so much. And happy Krishna
Happy
Janmashtami
Janmashtami.
to you. Thank you. And same to you. Gurudev, I just wanted to ask, are you broadcasting Abhishekam from your temple today?
The Abhishek is going to be in the hall rather than from the temple. I don't think we're going to broadcast that.
Okay.
But the midnight arti will be broadcast. But the Abhishek, see, we have so many people. Actually, the Abhishek is maybe going on right now. Ooh, it's probably going on right now. Because I'm in my house. I'm not in the temple right now.
We'll be having tonight from Sydney Temple.
So at least the midnight arti will be broadcast. The Abhishek is in the hall, and we're not set up to do right now. I got enough things going on in life, so I don't think we're going to be broadcasting that. Maybe not. If we do, I'd have to do it myself. And I'm going to be doing the midnight arti, which right now means in about 3 hours and 15 minutes is the midnight arti.
Yep.
So you're welcome to watch that.
Thank you. I'll try. I've got so many Abhishek lines today will work as well. Temple, I was expecting your Abhishek like today now. I was thinking probably will be broadcast. So,
Yeah, well, maybe I can ask someone to broadcast it. Let's
I
see.
can go in my TV and watch it. So that's fine. It froze.
Sign off right now.